It's a bit of a sad reality, but yeah, lately, Samsung feels kind of scared of innovation. This isn't the Samsung we grew up with. Back in the day, they were bold, they experimented and took risks. I mean, they literally curved the screen. Say what you will about the curved edge, I wasn't a fan of it either, but you can't say they weren't trying to stand out. Let's rewind the clock real quick. A lot of people don't know this, but Samsung actually started in 1938 as a trading company, basically a grocery store. They were selling fish, noodles, and dried goods. I'm simplifying it, but you get the picture. As business grew, the founder Lee, who was 28 at the time, started expanding into different industries. He partnered with Cho Hong, and Samsung turned into everything: insurance, retail, trading, and securities. But by the 60s, Lee and Cho had a fallout, and the company split into multiple companies. One of those spin-offs were Hancock. Yep, the tire company. Anyways, around that time, Samsung entered the tech game. By 2010, they jumped headfirst into the smartphone scene. And that's where I want to focus this video on. In 2010, Samsung introduced the original Galaxy S, a 4-inch Super AMOLED touchscreen with a 5-megapixel rear camera with no flash, 2 gigs of internal storage, and a micro SD slot that supported up to 32 gigs. At the time, Samsung wasn't aiming to dominate, they just wanted a seat at the table. So, they launched about 12 variations of the S1 using the S series as their flagship to test the waters. Fast forward to the S2, the screen grew to 4.3 inches and internal storage jumped to 8 and 16 gig options, with the SD card slot still present. It featured an 8-megapixel rear camera, a 2-megapixel front camera, and was the sleekest phone available at the time. It was also Samsung's first phone with NFC built in. Around this time, right after the S2, Samsung dropped the Note 1 in 2011. People laughed at it. They straight up called it a phablet because a 5.3-inch screen back then, that was massive. Wildly oversized, no one thought it would catch on, but Samsung didn't care. They saw an opportunity, a phone that could double as a notepad with a built-in stylus called the S Pen. And while the tech press mocked it, consumers loved it. People realized, hey, maybe a bigger screen is better. Emails, multitasking, drawing, note-taking, it all subtly made sense. That risk paid off, and the Note series would go to become its own powerhouse line, influencing not just Samsung's future, but also the entire industry. Even Apple eventually followed suit with the iPhone Plus and the Pro Max models years later. The Galaxy Note wasn't just a side project, it was a warning shot to the rest of the world, to the rest of the smartphone world. Samsung wasn't just following trends, they were about to start making them. The S3 marked a turning point for Samsung, featuring a 4.8-inch HD display, wireless charging, eye tracking, and the S Voice with storage up to 64 gigs. Samsung continued its rapid innovation with the S4, adding infrared sensors and growing the screen to 5 inches. Sparking early concerns about the phone sizes, the S5 pushed boundaries even further with a heart rate monitor, fingerprint scanner, water resistance, a 16-megapixel camera, and supported 4K video recording, all while maintaining their trend of building on past successes with bold, experimental features. The Note 3 leveled up with a 5.7-inch 1080p screen, full leather back, USB 3.0, 4K recording, and a major boost to multitasking, S Pen. The Note 4 added a premium metal frame, quad HD display, optical image stabilization, fast charging, and fingerprint scanning, becoming the giant as you can see. Samsung was building a huge momentum. When you're rising fast, there's always the moment where confidence turns into cockiness. With the Galaxy S6 series, the Note series, Samsung took a sharp turn. This phone was elegant and premium, a beautiful design with a 2K display, a glass back, and optical image stabilization. But in chasing that premium look and feel, they made some controversial decisions. The battery was no longer removable, the micro SD slot was gone, they removed the flat screen, fans weren't happy. Longtime Samsung users had gotten used to swapping batteries and expanding their storage. These changes felt like a step backward in usability. Even if the phone itself looked better than ever, after all that backlash, they brought it back with the S7. The only thing they brought back was the micro SD slot. Everything else stayed the same. With the Galaxy S6 Edge, Plus, and Note Edge, Samsung introduced curved displays. And yeah, it looked futuristic and edgy, but people weren't into it at first. But the thing is, those curves came with a trade-off. They made the phone harder to grip, easier to drop, accidental touches on the sides became common, glass screen protectors did not sit right, and forget about finding a decent case. Neither either didn't fit or look weird trying to wrap around the edge. Samsung took this design language and ran with it. It became a signature, especially in the Edge, Plus, and Ultra models. For the average consumer, the curve wasn't an innovation, it was an inconvenience. Samsung later realized their mistake and slowly shrank the size of the Edge with each iteration. Samsung later realized their mistakes and slowly shrank the size of the Edge with each iteration, not because they hated progress, but because flat screen just worked. Here are some things they also removed: headphone jack, iris scanner, user back replaceable covers, easy DIY repairability, LED notification, chargers included in the box, physical home button and capacitive buttons, dual aperture camera system, the S-Voice pressure sensitive display, which back then they called Force Touch, smart scroll, smart pause, air gestures, the entire Note series. It's now called the Ultra series. For years, Samsung was the brand you looked at if you wanted innovation. They were the company that threw wild features at the wall to see what stuck. Some of it brilliant, some of it gimmicky, but it kept the changes exciting. But lately, it feels like they've shifted gears and into playing it safe. Deep inside, I don't blame them. Samsung's at the top. When you're one of the biggest players in the industry, it's easy to become cautious. You're selling millions of phones, you have shareholders, you have a reputation to protect. The last thing you want to do is mess that up with a bold move that backfires, especially what happened with the Note 7 debacle. To this day, they are still scared from that situation. But here's the catch: not taking a risk is also a risk. Samsung's current strategy feels like a tightrope walk. They know there's massive global pressure coming from competitors like Apple, Google, and even Chinese manufacturers like Xiaomi and OnePlus. With every new iPhone release, Apple continues to set the bar, even if it's just a small but impactful upgrade. On the other hand, smaller brands are offering premium features at a fraction of the cost, often taking bolder steps and getting attention because of it. Playing it safe isn't always the safest bet. If you don't keep pushing boundaries, you risk becoming stale, predictable, and forgettable. Take a look at the latest Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. We're seeing the same pattern. A phone that's great but feels like it's missing something. It's more refined than its predecessor, sure, but what's the real innovation? The Ultra is no longer Ultra. Sure, they're improving, but are they pushing the envelope the way they used to? So, why is Samsung playing it safe? Is it because of global pressure? Apple's stronghold on the premium smartphone market pushes Samsung to match their pace, while Chinese companies like Xiaomi and OnePlus have no problem taking risks to steal the market share with features that Samsung would be too afraid to put on? Is it because of business strategies? Is it easier to polish existing products than to invest in risky game-changing features that may not take off? With millions of units sold every year, the last thing Samsung wants to do is try to make a major flop? Or is it because of expectation? They have to cater to a massive and diverse base of customers. Making bold changes can alienate certain groups, and Samsung doesn't want to upset its core users, even if that means taking fewer risks. But here's the flip side. By not innovating enough, Samsung might run into the risk of becoming boring. People don't remember the safest phone. They remember the phone that changes everything.